folks.
Oh, hello, Mr.
Leave
O'Leary.
your Panorama.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Why is it you won't agree not to an unedited interview? Very surprising if the BBC is interested in free speech.
Because
you won't agree to an unedited interview.
If it was a live program, of course it would be unedited.
No, but it's a
taped
recorded program. Yeah, as long as you don't edit it. But all you want to do now is ask the questions and then cut the answers. Sorry. If you want to agree to an unedited interview, happy to answer any questions you have. It's quite straightforward.
But this conversation we're having now
will be cut to suit the Panorama agenda. If you want to agree to an uncut interview, happy to do an interview. You don't have any points. I've seen some of the correspondence you've made, and all you want to do is agree to an uncut interview so the Panorama don't censor it, don't cut it to suit your agenda. Happily do the interview.
We would like to ask you about the secret of the success of Ryanair, and we would like to
ask you...
the
secret to the success of Ryanair. It comes from offering the lowest fares in Europe and providing the best customer service. That's why 67 million people this year will fly with us.
And I'd like to
far
ask
more
you...
people than will watch Panorama, as you know. Or indeed the BBC.
And we'd like to ask you if you're confident that your passengers will go on trusting you, so long as there are hidden costs.
There's no hidden costs. You see, it's the Panorama agenda. There are no hidden costs in Ryanair. All the costs are detailed on the website. You're not allowed to make a booking on the website unless you agree, if you want those services, unless you agree to pay for those services. But if you want to agree to an uncut interview, we'd be happy to give you one.
And we'd like to ask you about flying a hard bargain with all the people you deal with, because that is famously how you've done so well. You fly very hard bargains with everybody you deal with, isn't it? That's how you do it, isn't it?
What does a hard bargain mean?
Drive a hard bargain.
Well, like the BBC would be an awful lot better off if, instead of wasting taxpayers' money or the licence fee money on castles and senior executives, you actually went out and did some hard bargaining. We guarantee the lowest airfares in Europe. We're the only airline to guarantee no fuel surcharges, no matter what the price of oil, and we do that because we are tough with suppliers. We don't believe that passengers should pay or consumers should pay for either the fat or the incompetent management of many of the other high-fare fuel surcharging airlines in Europe. And Panorama has an agenda that, why should Ryanair negotiate? We negotiate on behalf of our consumers. That's why our average fare this year will fall to £30.
Mr. Leary, it's very flattering.
If you want to agree to an uncut interview, I'd be happy to agree to an uncut interview, not a doorstep interview.
It's very flattering.
It's
very flattering.
What do we think of the BBC?
It's very flattering of you to suggest that the film is about Panorama. It's not. It's about Ryanair.
Vote yes to the Lisbon referendum in 2 weeks' time as well.
Our programme goes out after that's been.
Also, buy shares in Ryanair, Europe's largest, lowest fares airline. Sadly, this will all be cut out of the Panorama programme, because Panorama have an agenda that, despite the fact that Ryanair being the lowest fared airline in Europe, despite the fact that Ryanair being Britain's favourite airline, this year carrying 3 times the number of passengers of British Airways, that doesn't suit the BBC agenda. Honestly, would you believe I have to go and do an interview with BBC You and Yours programme at 12 o'clock? I'm sure you know it. It also has an agenda, bizarrely to me, about...
And will it be a live programme?
Yes, it's live interviews.
Then it'll be live and uncut.
That's the basis on which I do. But all you have to do is to agree to an interview that's uncut. Most of this will be cut because it doesn't suit your agenda. But if you want
what
to...
on earth do you imagine my agenda? You flatter me enormously, Mr. O'Leary. I've never met you before. I've heard so much about you.
They're driven by the questions. Hidden charges. I'm happy to do an interview as long as you agree that the interview won't be cut, won't be censored to suit the Panorama agenda, which is a biased one. We do not have hidden charges. If you had any research facility at all, you know all of our charges are upfront and available. The only thing that Ryanair is famous for is guaranteeing the lowest fares. We offer the #1 punctuality. We cancel fewer flights. We have fewer lost bags than either EasyJet or British Airways. And the BBC, for some remarkable reason, doesn't appear to like it.
Let me surprise you, Mr. O'Leary.
Why? You're going to cut all of this out.
Not only do we know that, we know that by one measure, that of scheduled international passengers carried, you are now the biggest airline in the world.
No, we're Britain's favourite airline. And there's not one measure. We carry 3 times more passengers than British Airways. We don't force those passengers to fly with us. Every passenger who makes a booking with us is aware of all the charges, must select and agree to those charges before they're... Why then are we growing this year by 15%? Why will we carry an extra 9 million passengers this year?
And what's
in
our
a year
answer
when British Airways will lose about another 3 or 4 million passengers?
We'd
and
like
yet
to-
the only agenda the Panorama is here is, Ryanair levies hidden charges. We don't.
Give us a break. We want to ask
Give us an
about-
interview that you won't cut or censor, and I'll answer any questions you want. You set the time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I'll happily agree to whatever interview length you want, as long as you agree not to cut it, not to censor it, to facilitate the Panorama agenda.
You're not running the clock now, are you?
I am, because I've got to go and do a live interview with BBC You and Yours on Radio 4. What time am I on it? 12.
Yeah.
Just agree that you won't cut the interview, and I'll happily do the interview.
I will agree
I've
that
now
we'll
done
tr-
an interview here for 15.
That's my point.
You've been able to doorstep me for 15 or 20 minutes to do an interview here, and you can cut it to your heart's content.
But that's a very
problem-
curious way of negotiating. You're
Well,
saying...
because I can't get out of the hotel and go to do an interview with BBC unless I come past
Mr.
your
O'Leary, Mr.
your
O'Leary, to be
camera.
clear, we want to treat you fairly. And
But
that
you
is
don't
all
want
there is
to
to it.
treat Ryanair fairly. You want to ask loaded questions, such as the one, why does Ryanair have hidden charges when Ryanair has no hidden charges?
I want to ask you about your deal, about the deal you nearly reached with Airbus when you shook hands with Airbus on a deal.
Complete rubbish.
It's not true that you shook hands with Airbus on a deal and then went to Boeing elsewhere?
Absolutely not.
Well, that's what we want to ask you about.
But
I
then just
understood.
agree then. You can ask me those questions as long as you agree whether you ask me those questions in a
understand.
5-minute interview, a 10-minute interview, a 15-minute interview, that you won't cut or censor the answers. I think, look, if the BBC is really interested in freedom of speech, if the BBC is really interested in having a balanced debate, I don't see what you were afraid of. You can ask me any questions you like, and all I've asked is that you won't cut or censor the replies, and then you can have an interview of whatever duration you wish. Listen, I'm really sorry, I've got to go. You can hear me on BBC Radio 4 in about 10 minutes' time, answering the same loaded, nonsensical questions as Panorama wants to ask. And if you want to agree to an uncut, uncensored interview, I would be delighted to have an interview with you and Panorama at any time.
It is a pleasure
any
to talk
place,
to
anywhere.
you.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Did you fly here on Ryanair?
How can
No.
possibly-
You see, more BBC waste. They didn't fly on the lowest fare, most punctual airline. Who did you fly over here with?
We flew here with BMI.
The high fare. Look, this is what's wrong with a license. A license payer's money in Britain is being wasted.
And
by,
next week we're flying by
the-
Ryanair.
Next week you'll be flying by Ryanair. Why didn't you fly over here on Ryanair? We offer more flights, better punctuality, far more range of flights to Dublin, and a much lower fare. You would have saved the BBC licence payer and the BBC a fortune of money. What are many of you here? 4 of you. We probably saved about £400 for the licence payer by simply flying with Ryanair.
You'll be very glad to know we have a locally hired crew and that we've stayed at a cheap hotel so as to oblige the licence payer. And for that matter,
If you'd
for the
come on,
pleasure of
if you'd
speaking
come
to
on
you.
Ryanair today, you could have travelled on a free. If you'd paid with Visa Electron, you could have travelled on a free fare, brought your own crew, and there you wouldn't have had to rent other guys locally here in Ireland, again at the cost of the licence payer and BBC. Look, if you want to have an interview with me, happy to have an interview, answer any questions you like. Just please agree that you won't cut it or censor it to kind of favour the Panorama agenda. Other than that, love Panorama, great show. Not very fond of the BBC, bit of an agenda against Ryanair, but then maybe that's because we're popular, the public love us, and maybe in the BBC not quite so much. But we hope you struggle out with the present BBC financial difficulties. I think Ryanair is the way forward, but I would encourage everybody in the BBC, fly Ryanair in future and save the licence payers a fortune.
I wonder why they call you
More
out.
questions.
I wonder
I've
why
got
they
to
call you
go.
outspoken. I wonder why they call you
They
outspoken.
don't call me outspoken, they call me beloved, caring, sensitive, shy and retiring. It's lovely to meet you. By the way, before you leave, if you want to have an interview with me, as long as you agree not to cut it or censor it, there's the building over there. Happy to give you 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever duration of time you'd like.
Your kindness
Thank you very much.
Your kindness and sensitivity.
And remember, fly Ryanair. Save the licence payers a fortune. God bless. See you. Bye. Thanks.